Three, two. Hey, Drunk Mythology friends. I'm Cait.
And I'm Other Jenn.
And we're the
Drunk Mythology
Drunk
Gals.
Mythology Gals?
Yeah, it's not as fun with just the two of us trying to, do that whole thing. We still need to get OG back in here.
Well, last I heard she was trying to catch a boat from Galatz to London.
Oh, nice. So she's off the train to Beatrice.
Bistritz, yeah.
Bistritz.
Yeah, she's done with the train. And Kim is recovering from her safety pin wound.
Yes.
The Mina Harker safety pin special.
Yeah.
But you guys, it's Halloween. And to celebrate and cap off our super crazy month of Drunk Dracula Gals, we have a very special guest.
We do. That's right. Several months ago, we had the honor of being guests on the podcast Digging Up Ancient Aliens with Fredrik. You can go listen to his episode 18 to hear all the rage as we discuss the idea that the gods of mythology were actually aliens.
It's never aliens. It's never fucking aliens.
Anyway, Fredrik soon learned that he's now part of the family and there is no exit. So welcome, Fredrik.
Yay.
Thank you. I feel like Harper in thank you for having me.
Yes.
So tell us and our listeners a little bit about you and your podcast and how you got started. And yeah.
So I'm Fredrik from Sweden, so I don't hope I get too much accent.
We love accents on our show.
I'm Fredrik. I'm from Sweden. I'm almost trying, Cait, with my accent.
Yeah,
you're never getting Van Helsing. What am I doing with my life?
So hopefully I can stay away from that because I almost killed Cait, who was drinking.
You almost killed my laptop in this recording.
But my background in archaeology, and I do a podcast where I watch the TV show Ancient Aliens and also read their books. They are not better. But
I'm so sorry.
I'm analyzing this from archaeological perspective and trying to teach about different pseudosciences we find in there and instead offer a more grounded explanation in
reality-based
research. Yeah, usually a bit more interesting.
Facts, science. Anybody heard of those? So we've been talking back and forth for a while because we are still really bad at email.
Like anybody wants to actually communicate with us?
I tried to figure out, some shortcuts, and Instagram is not better.
Yeah.
Next time I try Twitter, next time I try Facebook, and see. You can send a message to each and have a competition who answers first.
Eventually, we'll just give you our phone numbers and you can just text us directly.
Yeah, you can WhatsApp us.
Wait, WhatsApp? You mean I have to download something else?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, good luck with that.
She'll be doing it while we record.
So we talked about doing another episode together, and Cait said, let's do something spooky.
And since we were doing Drunk Dracula Gals, I figured it would be perfect to end the month on a really high note with our friend Fredrik and vampires and mythology.
Yay!
So that's what we're getting today. Vampire folklore, old, new, and totally tinfoil hat worthy.
I did not make a tinfoil hat.
I didn't either. I was going to, and you know what? I slept.
I just want to take a moment and apologize to Fredrik again for all the technical challenges that we had when we were guests on your podcast. That was all coming from me. I will own it. We had a crappy Wi-Fi setup in our house, and just last month,
stealing the Wi-Fi from the neighbor?
I was, and I didn't even realize it. I was on the neighbor's Wi-Fi, and Just last month, I did a major upgrade here at our house, so we should have no problems today.
God damn it, Jennifer! You would better have a really good offering to Odin to like offset what you just said, because here is the goat of rage.
I totally jinxed it. My offering, okay, yeah, we haven't done the offerings in a long time because we've been doing the Dracula episodes, but despite getting one of my major months-long projects complete off my desk, success, 3 more projects got added this week. There's my suffering, Odin. Have mercy on me.
Well, that might be enough. Let's see. Other than the fact that like I've just been like jam-packed. Let's go with trying to keep 3 dogs from running around in the backyard where we've just poured fresh cement for the past 2 weeks.
That's fun.
That's great.
So, Fredrik, if you have any suffering you want to share with Odin in order to bless and keep our recording on track.
I have this old flint tool I made myself without cutting me deeply.
Hey, so whatever works, right?
Yeah. What are we drinking? Cait, I see your cup and I see a nice little logo, which we have no endorsements from them, but if they want to endorse us,
Hi,
we
Starbucks,
welcome.
we love you. Would you like to
sponsor us? So clearly Cait has coffee. Have you poured anything extra in that coffee?
I considered it, but I still have to take my medication and stuff, so not doing that this morning.
Okay. And you said morning. It's 10 a.m. where I am.
Yeah, so it's 7 a.m. here.
Yeah. Oh. And so I put a splash of orange juice in my vodka to give the appearance of being civilized.
It's just a screwdriver.
Fredrik, what time is it where you are and what joy do you have?
It's 4 and the kids are with their grandparents. So I have a peachy bulldog beer. And,
nice.
I have a Subrovka vodka from Poland.
Oh, love it. Love it.
You did come prepared.
With the bison grass taste. So they put a little grass straw in it and gives a bit extra taste to the vodka.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
okay,
that's so cool.
I'm going to need you to message us the details of that.
And the links.
Yeah, because I need to see if I can get my hands on that.
It's a very big brand, so you should be able to find it in the States, I assume.
Okay.
But I can send you the
never
name
know.
and everything.
Yeah, because she also lives in North Carolina, so you never know what you're able to get there.
Yeah.
But so
okay. With our disclaimer, do not drink and drive cars, chariots, 8-legged horses, crappy Wi-Fi networks, slow emails, tech hiccups, whatever.
And you know what? Let's get started. A long time ago, when the world was young and bloodthirsty and literally, I don't even know. So I promised Fredrik I wouldn't make him prepare anything for this episode, but that doesn't mean I wasn't going to put him to work.
Oh, I apologize, Fredrik.
I have no regrets. So we're going to start off with 2 perfectly rage-inducing quotes from the big daddy of the modern vampire folklore, Bram Stoker, and I will never not say that name that way.
I typed it wrong once, and you will never let me live it down.
You know what? Because it is what it is. So, Fredrik, if you wouldn't mind reading the very first quote I have here, it's from Van Helsing.
Okay, just give me a moment here.
Is the screen up for you?
Yeah, I got it. Låt mig berätta. Han är känd överallt där människor bor. I gamla Grekland, i gamla Rom. Han blomstrar i Tyskland, i Frankrike, i Indien. Genom varje halvö och i kontinenten. Ända ut i Kina, så långt bort från oss du kan tänka dig, men även där fruktas han ännu. Han har följt de krigiska islänningarna, de djävulskarna, hundarna, slaverna, saxarna och magajerna.
Oh my god! It's the best thing ever!
You trolled us.
Totally.
Yeah, you can get me to read, but I can't guarantee it will be in English.
But seriously, that was next level. We
Oh
love
my
you.
god! Cait, do you want me to read the English?
Yes, please.
I can do that. It won't be in any accent at all.
You will not do my famous Van Helsing French accent. I do not know why.
I can do Southern Baptist Mean Girl, but that probably won't.
I have a couple of places later on you might want to bring in your SBMG.
Yeah, okay. So here it is in English. For let me tell you, he is known everywhere that men have been. In old Greece, in old Rome. He flourished in Germany all over, in France, in India, even in the Chernozis and in China. Chernozis.
I have no
tried.
idea. Yep.
So far from us in all ways, there even is he, and the peoples fear him at this day. He have followed the wake of the berserker Icelander, the devil-begotten Hun, the Slav, the Saxon, the Magyar.
As someone who has Hun DNA, I just want to say,
I mean,
so just oy, oy, oy.
He seems to put the Huns and the Slavs and the Saxon in all this devil-begotten.
Yeah, I mean, let's just put it this way. You want racism? You got it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is bad.
And I do have one more quote to sort of set the stage for this, because Van Helsing just is the gift that keeps on giving, huh? Kind of like when you cut off her head and fill her mouth with garlic and drive a stake through her heart.
So now I'm wondering,
Fredrik,
are we going to get English or not?
Yeah, now I'm on like tenterhooks.
Yeah, maybe I do Polish.
God damn it, Fredrik.
All we have to go upon our tradition and superstition. These do not first attempt appear much when the matter is one of life and death, nay, of more than either life or death. Yet we need to be satisfied. In the first place, because we have to be, no other means is at our control. And secondly, because, after all, these things, traditions and superstition, are everything.
Wow.
Wrong. But yeah, so when we talk about vampires, there's thankfully no scientific basis for it. And so in some ways, Van Helsing is right. Tradition and superstition are everything. And there is a lot of actual vampire mythology and folklore. But guess what? We're not going to talk about that today.
What?
We're
You
not
said
going to.
We were going to talk about.
We're not talking about the ancient stuff. I'm not going back to the Chernozese and old Greece and old Rome and Germany all over, in France or India or China. I'm not going any of those places, because there are a lot of podcasts at this time of year that are talking about it. And, also that would make this episode probably 3.5, 4 hours. And no one wants a sticker for this episode.
No.
So I thought we'd take a look at more modern mythology, modern folklore, because, mythology isn't just constrained by being ancient. We create myths all the time.
Oh, sure.
So, just like we saw with Dracula and Bram Stoker. Now I can't even say his name correctly if I want to. But, we had questions like, he created, in the original mythologies, a lot of them, the sun really doesn't come into play. And, he reflected that the sun doesn't burn a vampire to death or whatever.
That's right. We mentioned that.
Exactly. Or, when he first meets Dracula at Castle Dracula, he notices there are hairs growing out of the centers of his palms. And that's actually a crossed wire, literally, with werewolf legends.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, those two goes a bit hand in hand.
Oh, you didn't. You did. God damn it, Fredrik.
It was just laying there. I'm a father. I have to do the dad pun somewhere.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Yep.
So, but go ahead.
Could I just put something in there? Because Stoker was not the first. He's the most famous, but you also have Carmilla, for example, which Stoker built a lot of his works on. The lesbian vampire novel from, was it 1870?
1870s? Probably. I thought like 1840s or 50s, but same difference, honestly, in terms of progressiveness.
Live Googling, originally published 1872.
Ooh, nice call. Yeah. But he also wrote like Dracula's Guest. He wrote fan fiction of his own. Of his own work. And there was Carmilla. There have been like little ghost stories here and there about that include like vampires or blood drinkers, but he's the one who sort of set it in stone for us from a modern perspective. And then we start getting into the age of cinema with movies like Nosferatu and the classic Dracula, where we first have him appear in full correct dinner dress. Because that's how vampires dress. If you see a man in a tuxedo at night, run. But then there's also, there were some comic attempts at vampire films, like Love at First Bite in 1978 with George Hamilton. And I saw it when it came to TV in 1980, because remember, those were the days when movies would actually come to TV. So I was about 6.
Yep.
And it fucking scared the shit out of me. I was literally plagued with nightmares about vampires for years. Like vampires would show up in my nightmares at my school, on the playground. And I got my wires crossed and conflated them with school supplies. So I had vampires who were turned into Crayola markers.
In your nightmares?
In my nightmares. So, and I at one point in one dream, I had like this bottle opener and I had to run around popping the tops off these Crayola marker vampires to destroy them. And so Fredrik, I went into Canva and I made an actual picture of my nemesis.
Vampire Crayola.
Yes.
Oh
so
my
Jen,
God.
would you please describe
what from hell?
What Cait has given us a picture of a classic Crayola marker, purple, and she's put eyes and an angry mouth with sharp gnashing teeth.
Yes, that is the thing of my nightmares. If you ever need to like psychologically break me, you can dress up as that for Halloween.
Fredrik, how old were you when you first encountered vampires, whether by reading or seeing them on a movie or something of that nature?
It must have been teenage year, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really have the Sesame Street here in Sweden, so we didn't have counting with
fun, beautiful coffee.
Yes. So probably too old to be having nightmares.
Yeah, I can't say I was bothered by vampires, at least in my nightmares.
You will be.
And I was too sheltered, as we've talked about before, so I was not exposed to any of it. So.
Were you told that like it was, not satanic, but like reading something like Dracula or learning, going to movies about vampires, was that like seen as unchristian or?
Well, yeah, satanic. Yeah, it was.
Wow, straight up.
Yeah, straight up satanic. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was. Not. Yeah,
Woo!
that's I was extremely sheltered. And is it
You were
over
a
the
Southern
top?
Baptist nice girl.
Is it over the top if I say brainwashed?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like it,
Yeah.
the stuff that people grow up believing and then how they, those beliefs
Yeah.
change and move, like having grown up like in a progressive scientific, kind of atheist household, I'm like, wow, people actually,
Yes.
have that journey. And it's just,
Yeah.
it floors me every time. Like with so
Yeah.
much respect and everything. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So
So
more modern.
more modern, we have Anne Rice, Twilight.
You made me read one of those, didn't you?
I
No.
did.
What did you make?
I
Was
did
it
because
Twilight?
it was Twilight because
Okay.
while the story is obviously problematic and over melodramatic, from a technical perspective, I wanted you to learn about pacing and cliffhangers, because if there's
Yeah.
one thing she does well technically
Yes.
in her writing, is she sets up the story so that every chapter ends on a oh my god, what the fuck now kind of
Right.
cliffhanger. And
Yeah.
I the sparkle thing gets a lot of shit. However, she I will give her credit for some interesting world building with the sort of bioecology of her vampires, that they can live off animals, that they have this sort of vegetarian subculture, that they
Yeah.
don't have fangs, but their teeth are just very sharp, that
Yeah.
they have a venom that is actually a biological tool that would make sense for a predator. Like, and if you think about if she actually says, what if they're just a different branch of evolution of the
Right.
human tree?
Yeah.
And, if you're suspending disbelief for fiction, okay, that's not as crazy as some of the other shit I've read about vampire origins.
Yeah.
And, if you're talking about prehistoric peoples, it may be something that glittered would be attractive and beautiful. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of the like teenage glitter, but I will give her credit for creating an interesting oop, sorry, Kim, an interesting ecosystem for her vampires.
At least
Yes.
she tried something new. It was not just same old, same old.
Right.
Exactly. And, there was the movie with Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker, which, wow. And now, actually, one of the reasons I wanted to do, vampires this month is because it's leading into like vampires are going to be another big thing again, because Jungkook of BTS is releasing a vampire photo folio. Like he's doing
Interesting.
this role play in costume. And am I trying to write the coattails of K-pop and BTS and ARMY? Yes, I am. No shame. Chasing tags.
But on that's music, right? That's not really my music style. But those are
Oh,
musicians,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But my
it's
favorite vampire-themed
Yes.
music is a song called Vampire Punk Rockers from Hell by the goth band Incubus Succubus.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no better song about vampires than that, and the chorus is basically just vampire punk rockers from hell.
I'm
We
writing it
need to
down,
link.
Cait.
Yeah, we need to link to that and see if maybe we can just sample. But
And
yeah,
also remember that the culture has even touched the D&D sphere. So you have, for example, Curse of Strahd, where you
Yep.
they
yeah,
basically taken the book Dracula and changed the names because copyright infringement.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Although,
My
go
yeah.
ahead.
My husband plays Warhammer,
Mm.
and in that realm there is an army that is essentially vampires, I think. God, forgive me if I've said something incorrect. I'm pretty sure I've
Crossing
got
our
that
paths.
right. I'm pretty sure there are some vampire-like armies in
Mhm.
Warhammer as well. And yeah, I think they're just called the undead or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Anyway.
even in video games, like you had Castlevania that got turned into the show on Netflix. And also, Dracula is public domain. We had that confirmed by a law student. Hi, Roxy.
Yes.
But we're going to set that aside because I'm going to take you on a tour of some vampiric rabbit holes that most sane, well-adjusted, reasonable, logical adults are probably and thankfully not aware of.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, this is where if we had tinfoil hats, I would urge you to assume them.
I have nothing foil around me at all. Oh, I have a foil pig.
There you go. You have the glowing, glittery, glowing boar. So what I found was it's actually, aside from a couple of very niche theories, it's very hard to find anything about vampire aliens. Like lots of people believe in vampires and ghosts and demons. Like almost 40% of the US public believes in ghosts and demons and actual demons.
Oh, yes. I was, from the Christian upbringing.
Yeah.
There is a legit, well, I say legit, I'm doing air quotes here, spiritual warfare going on around us at all times, fighting for our souls.
Yeah, and that gives me chills because that's like, woo!
That's what I was raised on.
Yeah. And on the other side, there are people who are like, yeah, aliens. But like the little Venn diagram in the middle is teeny, tiny. Yeah. And I'm wondering, is it because we can only sort of feel comfortable believing one sort of set of extreme beliefs at a time?
But you usually have a crossover, but there's some sort of purity thing going on with these different monster and spirituality. So you can believe in Bigfoot, you can believe in Chupacabra, the vampire, the ghost, but you still treat them as different entities because you don't mix your monsters for a reason. They're a bit racist, maybe.
In a sense.
You know what? I bet that's
eugenics. They're eugenicists.
Yeah. He's probably Fredrik, I think you're really onto something there.
Well,
yeah.
I am going to take us through an exploration of that little slice of the Venn diagram.
Okay.
So there are quote unquote actual vampires, and for them it's literally a lifestyle choice. Like there have been studies done on these little micro communities that sort of popped up in places like San Francisco and New Orleans, really kind of reflecting the Anne Rice novels. And they are communities of people who truly believe that they are either psychic or sanguine vampires who require either energy or actual blood, real blood, to feel in good health. Now, I'm going to feel pretty confident in saying absolutely 100% psychosomatic.
Yeah.
But yeah, and actually several very famous serial killers felt that way as well. Like, there was Richard Ramirez, there was another guy whose name I'm completely blanking because I still have to finish this.
Yeah.
My coffee. But yeah, there were several very famous prolific serial killers. One of them was just kind of using it as a cover, but the other one literally thought, like, he was almost relieved when he was caught, and he openly confessed. And he's like, I didn't know what else to do because I believe that if I don't have this blood, I'm going to die. And, clearly mental issues there, but, also he killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Blood bank. Ever heard of it?
Oy, oy, oy.
And so some of these actual vampires are imagined. Other Jenn, if you would please explain.
Oh my God.
Here.
I don't even know what the hell is going on here.
I found it on Amazon.
We have is this a book?
It's the first book in a 7-part series.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we have these 3 people on the cover of, I guess this is a book cover, there's a lady and what looks like two firemen, EMS people, and the two EMS people are green-skinned. I'm gonna guess that's aliens.
Either that or there's a major nutritional deficit.
I don't know, that looks like the cover of a Chuck Tingle novel.
You may not be wrong, because Jen, what's the title?
Charmed by the alien vampire fireman.
Then it's not Chuck Tingle. What does it say? Crimson Heart wrote
yes.
it?
I'm guessing this is a menage.
It's a menage romance. It's book 1 of 7, and it's charmed by the alien vampire fill in the blank. Alien vampire cowboys, alien vampire.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and no shade to her. Just go run with it, live your life. Good for you for actually finishing books and putting them out there. And she apparently has a readership. So good for her. But yeah, so people find ways to embrace alien vampires, but on a perhaps less happy note, there is the reptilian conspiracy.
What?
So there's a lot of political muck connected with the reptilian side of things. And while we try not to get too much into politics on this show, I had to suffer through these Google results. So guess what? You do too.
Oh, dear.
Now, Fredrik, you know this name, David Icke.
Oh, yes. I'm very well familiar with his work.
Yes, I really want to say David Icky, but because it would fit, it'd be like Stroker and Icky.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Or a Icky Stroker.
Oh my God.
I now have the episode graphic.
Writing it down.
He is a reporter turned, dare I say, conspiracy nut job. Would that be accurate?
A reporter is very kind. He actually was a football goalie when he started out.
Okay, there you go.
The soccer, the European football, not the smashing into each other with protection kind of football.
Although it might have fixed his brain. I don't know.
But he got this rheumatism in his joints, so he couldn't play. So he became soccer announcer, or what do you call them? Soccer speaker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the guys
announcer,
that speak.
Yeah.
The ones who speak about what's happening.
Yeah.
And then he turned politician for the Green Party. And then he decided that he was going to be fully turquoise. All his clothes was going to be turquoise. And then he stopped being a politician and become an anti-Semitic alien theory author. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And there's a famous clip of him going on to a British television show where they offer, crumbly cookies to their guests. And David Icke on microphone starts to eat one, almost choke on it. And then
opportunity missed.
Oh my God.
But yeah, and actually, so I saw a clip of him, and at the time he was really getting started with the stuff. It reminded me very much of a legitimate archaeologist and historian named Michael Smith from the UK who was around at the same time and like filming documentaries. And I'm like, you know what, David Icke, I think you got jealous because he really was trying to lean into that look for a while too. So anyway, correct me if I get anything wrong, because I couldn't. I was struggling with this. So Icke believes that there is a Babylonian brotherhood made up of genetically modified human reptilian aliens who like to drink blood and are plotting a worldwide coup to install a fascist government.
Yeah. Whoa. Actually, it's not his idea from the start. He has stolen that. And fun fact, it's from a guy who called himself Jan Van Helsing.
Oh, lovely.
Can you guess why he calling himself Van Helsing?
Obviously a nod to...
He's trying to kill me.
Nod to Dracula and Stoker.
And the destroyer of
No,
evil.
because Van Helsing fights a bloodsucker. Do you know who else are bloodsuckers?
The Jews.
Jews.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get bad. So
What?
among these human reptilian aliens who are plotting a worldwide coup to install a fascist government are President Obama, Queen Elizabeth, Mick Jagger, the former chairman of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, is he even still alive? And the prince, his lizard majesty, King Charles.
Oh my goodness. So this group believes that those people are alien lizards.
Yes,
Did
wearing
I sum
human
that
skin.
up?
Some believe that they are just part of a reptilian snake worship cult, which then Ike evolved onto the shape-shifting alien crowd.
Yes.
Wow.
Also, most of them,
wow.
if they're on the American side, would be considered Democrats because, there's the Democrats who apparently like to drink the blood of children.
Oh,
Yeah. But so the exciting part of these reptilians is that they drink blood, which is our vampire alien connection. Yay, I did it.
Goodness.
But blood drinking is especially problematic when you talk about these reptilian aliens because these guys are associated with the globalists.
Okay.
Which, as we know from the stupid Stonehenge episode, the Georgia Guidestones,
Yes,
is a fucking anti-Semitic dog whistle label for Jewish people.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Globalists, Davos, the World Economic Forum. You won't own anything and you'll like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes from the Elders of Zion, or the Protocols of Elder of Zion. And Ike is referring a lot to that document in his writing. Same with Jan Van Helsing, or Jan Udo Howley, as he's called, who is also getting a lot of their inspiration from other, what do you call those, Holocaust deniers, such as David Irving, David L. Hagen, and Yermal Rudolph, and people like that.
And this is today. This isn't like,
right.
People are like into this today.
Yeah.
And, the blood drinking, we go all the way back to medieval times when the favorite pastime on long winter nights without the internet was rounding up the neighborhood Jews, accusing them of blood libel, i.e. drinking the blood of Christian children, and probably torturing or beating them to death, and then confiscating their property, and of course making sure that the good Christian monarchs and the church got their share through the tithing.
This is like the witch,
Salem witch trials.
Salem witch. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's
my
a
God.
fun little, or not fun, that's maybe the wrong word in all of this. Edit.
Let's just take it where we can get it. It's fun.
But one interesting aspect I find with the vampires, and when we're on the blood libel, that the idea of vampires actually saved a lot of women back then, because you either had a vampire or a witch. And it's maybe better to, dig up someone and burn their corpse than putting a lady in the river with a lot of ropes and stones. So there's been theorized among some scholars, for example, Richard Sugg from England, that vampire has actually saved a lot of women from hex or witch trial.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, so remember when we did our Hot Drunk News episode back in September, and I talked about the woman that they dug up in Germany?
This is a little familiar.
So they had put a rusty lock on her toe.
Okay, I remember that.
And then they literally put like I forget what it was. Was it a shovel? It was some sort of farm. It was a scythe, I think. And they literally
a circular scythe.
Across the neck.
Across her neck. So if she literally tried to sit up, it would slice her head off.
So if she tried to come back undead, she would sit up and just go right through the blade, decapitating herself.
Exactly.
I remember that now.
Yeah. Van Helsing could have taken a page from that.
Yeah.
Or as you did in America, you in the 1800s buried people face down, so the vampire would get lost and dig down to the center
to
of the
hell,
earth.
basically, yeah. And there was a huge vampire scare in the like late 18th, early 19th century in New England. And part of it
due to
was
the
tuberculosis,
TB,
because you would cough up blood.
Oh,
So you'd have these people with bloody mouths, and and also sometimes when you died in the winter, the ground was too hard to dig, because you've got all the ice and the snow, and then you get to the frozen ground. So they would keep you in the barn until thaw.
Oh.
And then you would thaw, and sometimes, they'd become kind of supple again.
Yikes. Not cool.
No.
Yeah, the last known vampire exhumation in the US was in 1892.
Does not surprise me. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there was shit closer to home on the timeline.
Yeah, the official date is 1892.
Right? Yeah.
So I know we're sort of between laughing and crying, but let's go a little further, because you know what? In 2013, a public policy poll found that as many as 12 million Americans believed this.
Wait, 12 million?
12 million Americans believed in the reptilian blood-drinking cabal.
Dear. Okay, yeah.
That's 2013.
We're relocating. We are relocating.
This is 2013. This is pre-QAnon. This is pre-Comet Ping Pong Pizza, which our friend and co-host Kim has been to and lives near, and is it's just pizza.
Oh, wow.
And there's a reason we talk about this, and we do mythology, and we try and deglamorize mythology, because there are some real consequences. And this shit matters. So in 2019, Bucky Wolf, a member of the Proud Boys, do I really have to explain that?
No.
Yeah. He killed his own brother by stabbing him in the head with a 4-foot sword because he believed he was a lizard.
Oh, my word.
He
killed his own brother
because he believed he was a reptilian.
Holy crap.
Talking to the police, he referenced everything from the Illuminati to QAnon to the theory of Democrats drinking baby's blood to stay young and beautiful. Get your money back, Democrats, if you are doing that.
Right.
It is not working. Go back to the Botox. Oh. And he was also a faithful watcher of Alex Jones's InfoWars. And in 2021... closer to home here in California, surfer turned preacher turned QAnon believer Matthew Coleman of Santa Barbara was indicted in the crime of killing his 2-year-old son and 10-month-old daughter because he allegedly believed that his wife had unwittingly passed on serpent DNA to them, and they would destroy the world if they were allowed to grow up. Did I mention he killed them with a spearfishing gun and dumped their bodies in Mexico?
Oh, shit. That's...
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Things like this
is it's not just funny, it's fucking pernicious and dangerous.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's the thing when people ask what's the harm with the ancient aliens or the Illuminati. Well,
let the QAnoners do their thing.
Yeah, but on the surface it's all well and good, but then you get to the things like this, and there's actual harm in much of this pseudoscience, even in chiropractic that many accept as a decent amount. They have cases with children being snapped necks on and things like that. So there is a harm to these pseudoscientific beliefs that even, that's why we shouldn't just laugh at it and just watch the other way. We should actually maybe acknowledge it and deal with it, and then, as maybe Other Jenn might profess, it's a long journey from coming from belief to a different worldview, and that's a journey that everybody needs to take by themselves in their way. But having
we also need
talking,
to be compassionate and be ready to listen and help. But we have family members on my husband's side who are deep like I get texts about globalists.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this man was a scientist.
Yeah. Well, just because you have a degree doesn't make you immune to strange idea. Usually people with degree are experts in one very narrow particular fields.
Yep.
Yep.
And also have the curse of thinking that they know better than everybody else and have a tendency to succumb to bad ideas too. So just that somebody has a PhD is not a not a
Yeah.
And yet
vaccine.
you would think that like the fact that they understand scientific method as a principle, like shouldn't it just be like burned into your brain that this can be extrapolated to everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
It should, but you can get these pet ideas and not really want to look deeper into it.
Yeah.
And therefore just ignoring. That's how you can get all these several doctors, all of them in literature for some reason, in Ancient Aliens, for example.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
can
try
think of I know with my day job, I encounter a lot of PhDs, and one in particular pops to mind with this discussion that, as Fredrik said, this particular PhD is on point and so full of fact, actual science knowledge in a very small category. But some of the other stuff that I have heard come out of this person's mouth, I am like, what the hell? Are you going senile? What? This just does not jive. You're science. You are science.
Right.
How are you?
It hurts.
How are you
like
saying
when these
this
people
to me?
do this?
How do you believe this? Oh my God, no.
So trying to bring us up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Jen, I have another little picture I'd like you to describe. But first, I will say that the Elizabeth Warren mentioned in this is a Democrat. And clearly, she's a lovely lady. She's a senator from Massachusetts. She was my senator for years. I'm pretty sure she's not a vampire or any kind of blood drinker. But please tell us what you see.
So you gave us a screenshot from what looks like an Amazon book listing.
Yes.
The title of the book, Elizabeth Warren and the Vampire Aliens, the tweets of Elizabeth Warren. Afternoon books. Oh my God.
Listed in nonfiction.
It is listed in nonfiction. So somebody took her tweets and compiled them into a book, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Is that what's happened?
I did not
here?
look inside.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you did not look inside.
I have done enough damage to my algorithms with this.
Yeah. I'll read a little bit of the summary. Don't really know how it happened. The government never really told us all the details about how aliens came down from another planet and lived amongst us. Nor did they tell us how these aliens were vampires. Really, alien vampires coming down to Earth and living among us. Do I have to keep reading this?
No, because this is actually this is trying to sell a book.
I do want to point out there are, from this screenshot, no reviews.
No, and I did scroll down through it, and there are no reviews. It doesn't even really have a ranking.
And it's been published. We are approaching 3 years from the published date, and so I take heart in there being no reviews. That's the little bit of good news that I'm going to cling to on this. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So let's take our leave of QAnon and the reptilians for the moment and go back to doing what we do best, ripping mythology a new one.
Oh, yeah.
So now we move on to the section called If You Can't Mythology Right, Then Just Fucking Don't. And So while doing some Google free association and researching for this topic, which along with the stupid Stonehenge has completely ruined all of my search results. So I just gave up.
The key is private surfing.
Right?
I should have, but no, I didn't. I even set up an alert for it. That was my downfall.
Right. Yeah.
So I came across a link to a post. It was either on Reddit or Quora that references the scriptures of Delphi as having an ancient Greek vampire myth.
I feel like you've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is, though.
So, obviously Reddit and Quora can go one way or the other with like being incredibly insane, or actually people being like kind of right on the money and very erudite and whatever. And I'm pretty fucking literate when it comes to ancient sources. And I have read a lot about the Oracle of Delphi, but I never heard of the scriptures of Delphi. Have you guys?
No, and just the name doesn't really sound right from a Greek perspective.
Yeah. So,
however, Delphi. But haven't we mentioned the word Delphi before?
Yes, the Oracle of Delphi.
Okay.
And
that's a real place.
We talked about it in the fuck the Roman holiday episode.
Okay.
Because the Romans would go to Delphi and kind of be like, how quaint.
Okay, now it's coming back to me.
So
got it.
I do try to keep an open mind, and I'd totally be up for finding a cool little known source. So I followed the breadcrumbs and found what seemed like the original post about it on a website called Gods and Monsters. Now, again, a title like that could go one way or another. It could be like, here's a catchy title to my website, but here's a cataloging of sources of ancient gods and monsters. Or it could be, conveniently, there's a subheading, what are the scriptures of Delphi? Pretty promising. Yes? No. Because this is how the subject starts. Other Jenn, would you?
Okay. I first came into contact with the writings via an acquaintance of mine from back in my early 20s. This person, who doesn't want me to use his real name, so we'll call him Dan, knew about my interest in mythology for some time before he finally told me about a connection that he had to the subject. It turns out that Dan comes from a family whose lineage goes back thousands of years, don't we all, to the area around the Mediterranean Sea. When Dan was a child, his grandfather, an immigrant from Greece, would tell him stories about ancient Greek mythology because he wanted the old traditions to continue on in America.
Okay, so just to this point,
that's cute.
Fair, right?
Sure. Many of these stories apparently involved prophecies and visions from the oracles of Delphi.
And there are plenty of myths about that so far, so tracking.
Okay. Dan's grandfather insisted that their ancestors had lived in the city of Delphi and that some had even worked at Apollo's temple where the oracles did their readings.
And now we go off the rails. Basically, this guy, Dan's grandfather, was really sad that Dan wasn't interested in mythology, but just in case, wrote down a bunch of these old ancestral family stories.
Okay.
Mind you, Dan's granddad is basically claiming he can trace their family ancestry back 3,000 years.
Oh.
Sir, I'd like to see the documentation. Oh, wait, I can't. Because it turns out that Dan's granddad didn't even name this collection of stories. So either Fredrik or Jenn, whoever feels up to it.
And now in Spanish. This collection of stories and notes is what I refer to as the scriptures of Delphi for two reasons. First, because that term is used occasionally in the notes that accompany the stories. Secondly, because it needed a name. And that one, it sounded good.
Oh my goodness.
So, hopes come crashing down. Now, to no one's shock and surprise, the owner of the Gods and Monsters website doesn't actually have a copy of these scriptures of Delphi.
Of course
because
not.
Apparently, Dan really isn't happy about his interest in these documents.
But didn't he first say that he was told about these documents because he had an interest in the documents?
Well, so I think Dan was just trying to shut his friend up. Like, yeah,
Okay.
I got these things too. I know about mythology, okay?
Got it.
That probably backfired, if any of this is true. So, Dan really isn't happy about his interest in these documents. He lets the guy look at them and either take photos, or this guy has a photographic memory because he managed to translate them and put them up on his website. So there are several myths contained in these scriptures. Are you ready?
No. I'm now coming down on asking for a friend.
It sounds like Georgios Sokolos has written this. He's also referring to unknown sources that he have no way of either show you or being able to translate it.
I have a little story about the guy who actually runs this website.
Okay.
I'm saving it because it's fucking icing on the what the fuck cake.
Carry on.
The myths in these scriptures.
I'm doing air quotes for scriptures.
I burned my tongue saying that word. The Taurus myth, the mythology of Cancer, Capricorn mythology, the Virgo myth.
What?
The vampire origin story, the vampire Bible.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it sounds totally legit to me. I don't know about you.
So we have constellations. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
And only a couple of them, mind you.
Yeah. Oh, Capricorn. That's me. So is that myth supposed to be about me, perhaps? Am I supposed to relate to it?
You know what? We can do a deep dive on that one.
Oh, shit. Me and my big mouth.
Yeah. Now it's on. Now it's on. All right.
Writing it down.
So the vampire Bible.
Yeah.
It really isn't a Bible, even though Dan's family says it is, because according to Merriam-Webster dictionary, Fredrik, if you would give us their definition of Bible.
Yeah, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, you're not supposed to start a speech by saying according to Merriam-Webster's dictionaries. And then secondly, it says the sacred scriptures of some other religion, to publication that preeminent, especially in authoritativeness and or wide readership.
Oh, okay. Can I?
Yep.
Let's see if I've had an accurate little light bulb moment.
Mm-hmm.
Simply having wide readership validates using the term Bible.
I think it has. I think it's part of it, but I think it has to be some sort of like authoritative source or guide. So, like, if there was, if, like, say in accounting, there is a document that sets out this is how you do double entry, blah blah blah.
Right.
And all accountants in the world are like, yeah, this is how you do it. That would be the double ledger or double entry Bible.
You're killing me with the vocabulary, but yes.
Whatever. I'm trying to make it fucking relevant.
I'm letting it go. You're killing me, Smalls, but I'm letting it go.
I have changed the way I chop onions now because of you.
Yes.
So there is hope. So this version of a Bible is basically just about vampires and vampire-like people, their origin story, and how they were basically part of an underground cult. Some of these bits are written in fragments, incomplete sentences, just dashed off as if in a hurry. But there's a reason for this. So just in case you still have doubts about these scriptures, we learn that the vampire Bible stories are not just from Dan's grandfather, but from his grandfather's mother. In other words, Dan's great-grandmother was the one who told the stories. And Other Jenn, if you would.
Okay. It turns out that Dan's great-grandmother, Dan's grandfather's mother,
he literally puts it in there,
was said to have the gift of prophetic visions herself. She wrote down the notes to the vampire Bible from visions that she had of the past. Both Dan's great-grandmother believed that this gift was proof that her ancestors had not only worked with the oracles in Delphi, but in fact were some of the oracles themselves.
First of all, a prophetic vision cannot be about the past. It's about the future. Like, just let's put a pin in that.
Right.
But that's, sorry to chime in
Please
there,
do.
but I recognize that from the Sleeping Prophets. He was a prophet in the early 1900s. I don't remember his real name, but it's from him we, for example, get the Hall of Records under the Sphinx. But he was basically literate, but he slept and had dreams about earlier lives where he could trace his lineage back to the Atlanteans and how they escaped Atlantis and fled to Egypt to build a giant library under the Sphinx that would open in 1998 of all years, and usher in a new era of Britney Spears and
baby, they did it again. But yeah, I mean, so you can have visionary dreams, but prophecy technically is forward looking. So, and look, I'm not taking issue with the idea that Dan's great grandmother, was sort of seen among people she knew as a prophetess, because, at the end of the 19th century, turn of the 20th, it was a thing. Like, my great grandmother, Antonia Zupicic in Istria, was known as a prophetess.
Interesting.
And, yeah. And, it's interesting, especially when I look at her as a historical source, because there is a way to accept the truth of her life and her experience within a historical context and narrative. But she's not somebody you footnote in your dissertation as an authoritative source of, concrete fact.
Right.
Well, the prophecies and people have played a part in earlier civilizations and things like that. So we shouldn't just kick them to the curb, but maybe not take them as authoritative statements on historical sources. Then there's better documents to use.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, I think it's fascinating that, in a very, very Catholic, devout, region, they were like, yeah, she's a prophetess. That's cool. Like, shouldn't that be a witch? But,
yeah,
and
the
then
Catholic has very strange ideas about magic, and it can exist and be illegal at the same time. You have the vampire pope, for example, Pope Innocent the Seventh or Eighth, who was drinking blood to get healthy again.
Yeah, but that's not blood libel at all. But but here's the thing, like, here's an example of one of those stories about her. So after World War I, the Italians took over management and ownership of Istria, because it had been part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And when they lost World War I, they got divided up, and, Italy got Istria. And so they were in the 20s digging up the local cemetery and digging up the old Istrians in order to make room for the Italians.
Oh, shit.
And
damn.
My grandmother was my great-grandmother. My great-great-grandmother was one of those that they dug up. And when they dug her up, her coffin opened, and she was as fresh as the day she died. Like, literally, there are stories about this, and I mean, there are scientific explanations as well.
Yes.
But basically, everybody at that moment dropped their tools and yeeted on out of there, because, she'd been dead a while.
Yeah.
And, it's a very rare occurrence. And if it did happen, again, this is just, and I can trace that one particular branch of my mom's family back to the 1500s, but I nearly went blind doing it. And anything before 1500 starts to get really dicey. And like you're looking at church records and like handwriting and Latin and woo. But you know what? Dan's great-grandmother apparently doesn't need that. She can just say whatever. So you know what? My ancestors go all the way back to the Oracle of Delphi on my mom's side and the Anunnaki on my dad's side.
There you go. Yeah.
You're of the princely seed then.
Yeah.
You know, I might even be part reptilian. Who knows?
She would have been, so the phrase that comes to me immediately is the incorruptible saints in the Catholic Church.
That's exactly
where the bodies are, and I'm doing air quotes, miraculously preserved after death. They defy
saponification. You ever heard of it?
Yeah, they defy that normal process of decomposition, and it's miracle because
miracolo. But I mean, you know, we've talked enough in our Hot Drunk News episodes about things that have been dug up, miraculously preserved because there's temperature and pH and soil and whatever. But
it's called science.
Oh, I ever heard of it? So,
can I talk about digging things up? I think we don't have time for it, but
please. No,
please.
No, but there's a lot of things. For example, in archaeology, we find most things in deserts, hot climates, and earth that has a lot of chalk in the ground. So, for example, if you
moisture
excavate
absorption.
if you excavate around Stockholm and Uppsala here in Sweden, you find next to nothing of organic materials, wood or things like that, because it's decomposed. Same with bodies. But if you go to Gotland, you can't put your shovel in the earth before you find either a grave or
wow.
So there's a lot of chalk on Gotland, meaning that all the skeleton preserves much better than in other places, which means that we can actually find graves there. So if you read history books about Northern Europe, they will usually talk about Gotland because there is where all the graves can be found, if it's like metal or pearls or things in it. So there is a lot of science on what gets preserved and what we can learn just based on the earth, basically.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, remember we talked about that giant wheel of butter that they dug up from a bog?
Yes.
Like a 2,000-year-old butter.
Yeah.
And it was still edible.
Allegedly.
Gross, but edible. Any whoozy. So back to Dan's great grandma. So all is not lost because Fredrik, if you would.
Dan himself, though, does not believe in any of this and thinks that if anyone finds out about it, they will just think his family is delusional.
Team Dan!
Yes. Hallelujah. Team Dan, the voice of reason.
But why do he put this in the story? He doesn't need to put this in the story, or is it just that he wants to have,
plausible deniability? I'm reasonable. I see all sides.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm above the paradigm. And, maybe Website Guy is going to have a redeemable moment because the next subheading is, are they real? Other Jenn? And I did pick this bit for you specially.
Okay. Do you want me to read this in Southern Baptist Mean Girl? Or
no,
is this
I think just straight. You're going to have enough trouble with it.
Okay. The question that I know is on the minds of a lot of people who have read this far is how legitimate these stories and writings are. Yeah. It's a fair question, but one that is hard to answer. No, it's not. How do you define what is legitimate or real when it comes to mythology?
I can tell you.
Cait, I'm already triggered. We do know for certain that these papers were written by Dan's grandfather and great-grandmother and are not some ancient texts from thousands of years ago.
Okay.
At the same time, these papers are as physically real as any texts that are written at any other time in history. So he's saying that there's paper the fact that it's on
but that's
paper
fucking relevant.
that doesn't make it fact versus fiction. Every written word was written by someone. So who is to say these words matter, and who's to say whose words matter and whose don't?
I can.
Oh my God.
Keep going.
This very question presents a challenge for me in particular because I have several articles on this site that discuss the myths from the scriptures of Delphi alongside those that have existed since ancient times. Can you say fan fiction? If the scriptures are indeed real stories that have been passed on orally through generations since ancient times, then they are indeed as ancient as the stories that were written down centuries ago. Stories! They are stories!
I mean, it sounds as this was written by the author of My Immortal in the style of E. E. Cummings while listening to Van Daniken. I'm not sure if I understand English any longer.
What are these words? Why are they screaming and on fire?
Oh my God.
Where's the punctuation? I mean, it's...
Well, but also, like, I think I pointed this out in the episode that we talked about of Ancient Aliens. Like, they start with a fact that we can all acknowledge, like, okay, these were written by Dan's grandfather and great grandmother, and they're not texts from thousands of years ago. So he gets our buy-in, and then once we're assuming he's correct about that, he is hoping to maintain it through all the rest of these very reasonable, I'm just asking.
Right.
I'm just asking questions. You can't hold me liable for this.
Right.
Because if it's wrong, I was just asking questions. If I'm right, well, I didn't ask questions. I was teaching you. But
yeah. But you know what, Fredrik? Your opinion doesn't matter. Because the website guy has a comeback for you.
Uh-oh.
The truth is, we'll never know for sure how accurate the scriptures of Delphi or the Vampire Bible are, but isn't that true of all mythology?
Oh, wow.
I mean, mythology isn't even supposed to be true from the start. That's why it's called mythology. It's not even written to be taken as literal accounts of history if we would compare to the religion of the Bible where it's written as history. And then we can discuss in there how true it is, but that's a different discussion. But
and a different definition of the Bible.
Right?
Oh my God. Mythology isn't even meant to be, but how do we know that something you just made up isn't real? Well, because you just made it up. If it's real, show me the real scriptures dating back to the Oracle of Delphi or anything like that. But that's the thing we see all the time with these pseudoscientists, that they reference stuff, but they never show you their work. Oh, I read in this clay tablet. Which clay tablet? They're all numbered. We can all go and look at them today. Everything is digital. What number?
Right. Yes.
It's on a tablet somewhere. Trust me.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Well, so now we get to the reason I called him website guy.
Okay.
Because the guy who wrote this website, his name is Mike Belmont.
Should I know that name?
You won't, but Fredrik might. So Belmont.
I was contemplating to quote him instead of the quotes you had written in earlier.
Yeah, but guess what? Belmont, as in the vampire slaying clan from the game and anime series Castlevania.
Oh, so whoever this person is that's made this website is hiding behind a fake name.
I mean, it could be the guy's actual last name, but even I have my limits and I can't even anymore.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, but
okay.
now
I mean, if you... But wait, isn't the Vampire Bible within the Castlevania? It was a long time I saw that series, but I'm sure they have a Vampire Bible in the show.
Oh, I'm going to have to rewatch and see if they actually do. I know that they have like Carmilla, they have Dracula. They actually have a lot of interesting references to the history of the actual Dracul. But anyway, let's get on to the main course. Or
They call it the Grimoire in Castlevania, but they have a vampire Bible.
I'm messaging Kim to see if she knows, because I feel like she's watched it.
Yeah.
But
so we're going to talk about the myth of Ambrogio, or the first ancient Italian vampire. Can you spot the mistake?
I'm Ambrogio. I'm Italian vampire.
Ancient and Italian do not go together.
Oh.
You were Roman. Or Etruscan.
Or depending on
Greek colony. There was no Italy.
Oh.
There wasn't even in Italy till the 19th century.
Quite rare. Or you would have been a Venice or a Roman or one of the city-states, but
Paduan, Milanese, So, but this is Ambrogio, the first ancient Italian vampire.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. Ambrogio was a young hunter and adventurer who was born and raised in Italy. But he had always wanted to travel to Greece. There was no fucking Greece at the time. It was all city-states, remember? Athens and Sparta and Corinth and blah, blah, blah. And he wanted to have his fortune told by the Oracle of Delphi. Okay. Eventually, he got his shit together, got on a boat, and made the journey to Delphi.
Now I'm getting the whole title of this episode.
The oracular headquarters were basically the temple of Apollo, the sun god. That much is true.
Okay.
The Pythia, aka the oracles, but that's actually not plural. Yeah. The Pythia was the oracle.
Okay. Singular.
Would sit inside the temple and get inspired by Apollo to give prophecies to those who came to get a reading, I guess.
Oh.
Except that's not how it worked. You had to be rich and or famous, preferably and there were seasonal limitations.
Oh.
And you couldn't just be like, hey, can I get my fortune told over here?
So this is not like going to a carnival and getting, your palm read.
No, this would be like going to have an audience with the Pope and being like, so do you see love in my future? Like that's how this is. Yeah. So
I just want to mention that they represent this very well in the computer game Assassin's Creed Odyssey. With the whole line outside the temple, so you can't just go into the oracle. You need special invitation.
Yeah.
And wait in line.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Ambrosius outside who thinks they can show up and just get inside the temple.
And there were probably people who made money outside the temple by being like, yeah, I got a whiff of that holy oracle gas. I can tell you. We'll talk about that.
Or selling tickets to get inside, scalping.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Because also when we did the Fuck the Roman Holiday part 2, and we talked about the Romans who would travel, there were ticket scalpers, there were guides, there were people who would try to, scam you. So anyway, young Ambrogio gets to the temple and goes to see the Pythia and is like, yo, how about a prophecy? And I feel for the sake of accuracy, we should share the Pythia's response word for word. Jen?
Is this the mean girl moment? Or still straight?
Have at it.
I'll play it straight. The Pythia, whose words were often cryptic, said only a few words. The curse. The moon. The blood will run. Oh, that's okay. See, that makes me bring up images of vampires, and is that the intent?
Except that
convenient.
Was not really how the Greek would see a vampire. If it would have been fruits and nuts, all for it.
Okay.
Maybe some goat milk, yes.
Yeah.
Blood, moon, no. The Greeks vampires walked the streets in daylight. They just looked red and bloated.
Got it.
So, lot of Germans of vacation type of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but also
Oh.
like they they also had the version of the vampire who was, oh, surprise, a highly sexualized woman
Oh, okay.
who came to you at night. Honey,
yeah.
it wasn't me. So this totally wasn't what he was expecting. Even worse, it's not like he could ask for a refund. He came all that way. I mean, literally weeks by boat. And
How do you travel weeks on the Mediterranean on boat?
Wait, yeah, that shouldn't take weeks, should it?
No,
I mean,
it shouldn't take weeks. If you
no,
know
but-
where you're going. If you're lost, maybe.
Well, but also like depending on what kind of boat you could get, how far it would go,
I might have had
With
to
a
wait.
rowboat.
But also like see our Fuck the Roman Holiday part 2 about how it was to travel by boat, because not fun. So he comes all this way and he gets cursed moon blood. Like, what? Is he going to get his period? But whatever. He has a crappy night camping outside the temple. And when he wakes up, is like, whatever, I guess I better walk back to the town. And as he's walking toward the town, he sees a beautiful young woman in white walking toward the temple. He yeets on over and is like, how you doing? And she's like, oh, hi, I'm Selene. And my sister is an oracle. I usually head to the temple to take care of her while she's high.
Oh my goodness.
And Ambrogio and Selene meet every morning as she's on her way to the temple, and they fall in love.
Okay.
On his last day in Greece, Ambrogio asks...
the Bible or the teenage novel?
Right.
It's Shakespeare. Ambrogio asks Selene to marry him. She's like, yeah, let me just go home and pack my shit and I'll meet you here tomorrow and we can leave together.
Oh, we know this isn't going to go well.
And we also know that's not how marriage worked in the ancient world. Just saying. But guess what? Apollo had been watching.
Of course.
He actually fancied Selene and was jealous and angry that Ambrogio would dare to interfere with his temple maidens. And okay, this kind of tracks. Like, Apollo's a bit of a petty bitch and he plays around and, okay, not too bad. You're like veering towards accuracy, but don't worry, it doesn't last.
Okay.
So that night, Apollo goes to Ambrogio and curses him so that from that day forth, the slightest touch of sunlight, because Apollo is supposed to be the god of the sun, hint, he's not, would burn Ambrogio's skin.
Oh.
Ambrogio is like, well, this sucks. I won't be able to meet Selene. Plus, I hate being sunburned. He decides he's got to protect himself and take shelter in a cave that leads to the underworld. Okay, I can give him this much, but yeah, I'm going to have to ask Fredrik to read the next bit because I wrote a book on this and anyway, please.
Hades. Bog Podziemi. No, I can't. I can't translate the Polish just like that. Listened to his tale and made him a deal. If he could steal the silver bow of Artemis and bring it back, Hades would grant him and Selene protection in the underworld. A deal specified that Hades would give Ambrosio a magical wooden bow, +1, and 11 arrows, +2, to hunt with. He was to offer his hunting trophies to Artemis in order to gain her favor and steal her silver bow. As collateral, Ambrogio had to leave his soul in Hades until he returned with the bow. Should he return without the silver bow, he would have to live in Hades forever, never to return to Selene, having no other choice. Ambrogio agreed, and I think I started to lose ability to read towards the end in self-defense.
That's it's not your fault. This is just bullshit.
This totally reads like a video game. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Or like a campaign for D&D. This is what I've...
Or a Russian fairy tale.
Oh, yes, like the Russian fairy tales.
Yeah,
where
go find me the cup of life, the sacred cup, so I can get the waters of life and death.
You have all these little side journeys,
exactly,
side quests that you have to take. This is,
But also, this is not how Hades works.
Okay.
He is literally one of the most unbothered gods in all of Greek mythology. Like, he cuts a deal when he's kind of backed into a corner, like when Zeus is like, you got to cough up Persephone, or, Orpheus has all this favor of the gods on his side. And when he comes to rescue his wife, Hades is kind of like, okay, I guess I have to give you this one. Or Heracles comes and rescues somebody. Like, there are some specific instances, but Hades isn't just like, okay,
but
fine,
Hades
let's make a deal.
Does not really look people up. People come always to him, except for, I forgot her name, his wife, Penelope.
Persephone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He stays in his domain because there's where he's king. Why would he go somewhere else? It's not like he's going around like Apollo or Zeus, turning into swans, making deals. And
we're going to get to the swans.
Oh, fun.
Because there are swans here.
Oh.
And we're not done yet, because Ambrogio is like, yeah, she's going to freak if she doesn't see me there in the morning. So you know what? I got parchment, and I think he means papyrus, motherfucker.
Wow.
But no writing implement or ink, except that wouldn't have been an issue because you could get a reed from the river.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know, I can kill a swan and use its feather for a quill and its blood for ink, because that totally won't freak her out.
Oh.
And if you remember our Tabula Rasa episode, quills weren't really a thing. They didn't use quills.
Right.
They used reed styluses. But that's okay. He writes with a quill in blood on a piece of parchment and leaves a note for her under the tree, and then yeets on out of there for the sun and goes and hides in a cave for the day. So Selene finds the note and is like, oh, God damn it. But she's like, you know what? I guess I shouldn't do anything to piss off Apollo, so I'll just go to work and pretend everything is okay. And then the next morning, she finds another swan blood note, but this time it's a poem. It's a romantic poem.
Oh, dear.
Personally, I'd be like, nice, but not solving my problem. So what are we going to do, Ambrogio, huh? But this shit went on for 44 days.
Oh.
Why? I don't fucking know. Like, isn't he supposed to be doing a thing for Hades to get his soul back? And where did the 11 arrows go? What is happening?
Oh, yeah.
And this is clearly a swanocide.
Oh,
44 local swans go missing. Like, if you go to Delphi today and there are no swans, there is a reason. So Ambrogio does make sure to dedicate every swan murder to Artemis, because he's like, let's be real, I'm probably not going to get a hold of her cool bow, which means that Hades gets to keep his soul. How is he not worried about this? But maybe if he sucked up to her enough, maybe she'd give him the bow, worst plan ever, or at least help him with his little Apollo problem.
Okay.
So on night 45, Ambrogio goes to do some more swan murder. Except this time, he misses.
Oh, my word.
But don't breathe a sigh of relief on the part of the swan just yet, because Ambrogio falls to the ground and weeps and prays to Artemis.
Oh, he pulls like a Jonathan Harker.
Yes, exactly. Except he doesn't go down into the left. Now, Artemis, who's the goddess of the hunt, she's, associated with the moon.
Okay.
She's the virgin huntress, basically. She actually notices this and is like, oh, he's been pretty good at dedicating his prey to me, so let's see what he wants. And this is actually kind of on brand for Artemis because she's somewhat sympathetic, ironically, to whiny, wimpy little men. It's like it's like the big, burly, masculine guys. She's like, fuck you.
Okay.
So she allows him to borrow her silver bow and a single arrow to get one more try. And you better hope that he's not going to use this last swan to write a poem and that he has come up with some kind of fucking plan by this point.
I doubt it.
Instead, he yeets on out of there with the bow back to the cave of Hades because he's got his soul on layaway there.
Oh, right. Yes.
But before he could get there, because stupidest plan ever, mortal running faster than a goddess's reaction time, Artemis is like, oh no you didn't, and cast her own curse on him. That's like 2 curses and a soul on layaway. He is not doing well.
Nope.
She cursed him that silver would burn his skin.
We have yet another reference.
Yeah,
except that's
more a werewolf thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and even the werewolf thing is very deep in the shadows of where it originates from.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of literature on it, but not really clear. I think it originates somewhere in the French regions.
Mais bien sûr, hein? I'm Vanessa from France. I tell you so. Superstition is all we have to go on. So Ambrogio drops the bow and never makes it to Hades.
He drops it.
He drops it because it burns his skin.
Oh,
he's like, ow, that hurt. So Ambrogio, guess what? Begs her for mercy and she grants it.
Oh.
No, she should not be granting him shit because that is not how Artemis rolls. You get one chance and then she's like, toodaloo, motherfucker. But no, this time she's like, yeah, okay, yeah. He explains his problem with Apollo and how he was forced to make a deal with Hades, except he wasn't forced to do shit.
No.
And described his love for Selene. And I need a moment for my blood pressure to recover. So Other Jenn,
okay,
if you would.
Artemis took pity on him again and decided to give him one last chance. She offered to make him a great hunter, almost as great as she was, with the speed and strength of a god and fangs with which to drain the blood of the beasts to write his poems. In exchange for this immortality, he would have to agree to a deal. He and Selene would have to escape Apollo's temple and worship only Artemis forever. The catch was that Artemis was a virgin goddess, and all of her followers had to remain chaste and unmarried. So Ambrogio was never allowed to touch Selene again. They could never kiss, never touch, never have children. But
guess what? Ambrogio is like, done. It's a deal. Because as long as he gets to be with Selene, it's the best possible outcome for him. Not only did he forget about his soul, he really didn't take into consideration what she would want, but whatever. But you know what?
I don't think he forget. I think the author forget about the soul.
Right, exactly.
I'm trying to be kind.
That this author was really into My Immortal and said, I can do that.
Right. No
Dan's
editor.
Dan's great grandmother, damn it. So finally, he kills one more swan and writes a note to Selene, who is like, finally, we have a plan. No more goddamn poetry. This time he's like, meet me on a ship at the docks before dawn the next morning. So when Selene gets to the dock, she finds the ship and is told to go down to the hull to meet Ambrogio. But no, that's not actually how you travel. No one travels in the hull of the ship. Please see Fuck the Roman Holiday Part 2. She didn't find Ambrogio, but there was a wooden coffin.
Oh.
With a note on it instructing her to tell the ship's captain to set sail and then open the coffin after sunset. First of all, the wooden coffins weren't really the thing. And also, there's no fucking way a superstitious ship's captain at that point in time would just be like, yeah, I'll take a coffin on board.
Yeah. This is fan fiction.
Yeah.
This-
So after
Yeah.
seeing these instructions, like hang out with this coffin and tell the captain to hit it, instead of running for the hills, she's like, sure, no problem. And when she opens the coffin that night, she found Ambrogio alive and well.
Ta-da!
Nice little magic trick.
Yeah, they sailed to Ephesus in Turkey instead of back home to Italy.
Oh.
And they lived in a cave during the day, and then at night worshipped at the Temple of Artemis. Yeah, and I'm going to need Jen or Fredrik to read this next little sentence because I just goddamn can't.
I'm a little bit rusty, but there is a tie-in here with the game Skyrim and the vampire lore in it, and a quest in that game where you actually become Artemis. That's in that world is a bit different from the Greek goddess, but you're trying to hunt down a couple of vampires because she was the creator in that game, if I'm not totally. It was a few years since I played that game, but
may have either been inspired by that or inspired it.
I'm not sure when he wrote it, but it feels as if he has taken a lot from different games and other popular culture and put into his story. But I can leave the last part here. They lived happily together for many years, never touching, never kissing, never kissing, never having children.
That's right. So yeah, he ain't getting any, she ain't getting any. So you have one immortal and one mortal. You know where this is going. Eventually, Selene gets old and was on her deathbed. And this is where leaving his soul in Hades layaway program comes back to bite. Ambrogio big time, because he's like, oh my God, I just realized I won't be able to join Selene in the afterlife. Did he forget the immortality part? Huh? Whatever shall I do? 3 guesses?
I don't have what he's gonna beg for, like, another deal. He's going
to bite her.
Well,
or we get the True Blood ending and it's just a bite and sex for the last 5 pages.
You're wrong. He goes and kills a goddamn swan.
Oh, shit.
Because he thinks Artemis will fall for it again. And again, totally unlike her, she's like, yeah, you were cool for a stupid man worshiper. Okay, I'll make you a deal. Don't do it. These deals never work. But he does. She's like, you can touch Selene just once, but not with your dick. You can do it with your teeth.
Oh my God.
As in drinking her blood, and mixing her blood and yours will create eternal life for anybody who drinks it. If he does this, Artemis will make sure that they stay together forever.
That's an
Read
old
the
lady.
fine print on these contracts, people. And guess what? Selene's like, yeah, go ahead, do the thing. So he does the thing and she dies, except her body starts to glow. Which personally, I'd be freaking the fuck out if a dead person started glowing right after I drank their blood. But who am I to say anything?
Yeah.
The sparkling vampires was real.
Right?
It's in the Vampire Bible, and therefore Dracula needs to be more sparkly.
Right? Yeah. So this is
she's glowing like a boar.
Like
Gallenbursty.
Yeah. Clearly, this is fan fiction, as Fredrik said, pulling a whole lot of different modern contemporary sources, pulling it all together and just saying it's ancient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mythology.
So
Artemis floated Selene up into the sky and made her the goddess of the moon. So I guess as long as the moon orbits the earth, Ambrogio and Selene have proximity, but that's not exactly staying together forever, but whatever.
Yeah.
So the beautiful light of the moon goddess shines down on her beloved Ambrogio and all of their children, because that's what they're calling all the people who drank Ambrogio's blood and vampires.
Wow. Okay.
The fucking end, and we'll be right back after this to discuss in painful detail how this is not how you mythology.
Yeah.
We now return to the Drunk Mythology Gals for part 2, questions and shit.
So we
Yeah.
clearly did a lot of, correcting as we went, but I would like to just point out a couple of main things. First of all, Selene.
Yeah.
She was a fucking titan.
Oh.
She was never mortal. Like, she precedes the Olympians.
Oh, we're supposed to know that name then.
Yeah. Well, so like Kronos, Zeus's dad, was a titan.
Got it.
And, so Hecate is a titan. The ocean Tethys is a titan. Like, you have the sort of not inanimate, but sort of amorphous early gods, like, the wind egg of creation.
Oh, yep.
And then you have the Titans, and then you have the Olympian gods.
Right.
And so Selene, being one of the heavenly bodies, like when you created Ouranos, the heavens, and Gaia, the earth, you have the moon. She's one of those.
Got it.
So she was never just a mortal village girl walking to the temple to take care of her sister. And actually, I'm not sure whether to say thankfully or not, but she did get some action. She did the dirty with Zeus. Several times. Whether he was in the swan form or not, we do not know.
Wow.
But if I were Zeus, I'd be a little pissed off at this story. She even bore him 3 goddess daughters. She also fucked her brother Helios, because what good Greek myth doesn't have some incest?
Yeah.
And also a shepherd named Endymion. Not an Ambrogio in sight.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So on that, I've found a connection. There is Ambrogio Lorenzetti in Siena. That sounds a bit like Selena, Italy.
Oh, God.
And Ambrogio is also robotic lawnmower.
Oh, my word.
He is the lawnmower of death when it comes to the swan population.
This is awesome.
As I mentioned, Apollo is not the sun god. He is the Olympian god of prophecy, oracles, music, song, poetry, archery, healing, plague, and disease, and the protection of the young.
Okay.
Do you see the sun anywhere there? I don't. Helios, which is where we get, the name for the sun.
Right.
Is actually Selene's Titan brother. If she's the moon, he's the sun.
Ah, right. Okay.
I think they conflate Apollo with the sun because his twin sister Artemis is associated with the new moon, the crescent moon.
Okay.
But that's not how it works.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then finally the Pythia. First of all, it's not plural. Second of all, Selene's sister would have to be from a really, really early first marriage because she had to be an older woman of blameless life, chosen from among the peasants of the area. So, if she was from the town nearby, fine, accurate. But she was an old woman, and she sat alone in the inner sanctum of the temple over an opening in the earth. And we know that was a volcano, and we have fumes. They also might have added some cannabis, some oleander, any psychoactive drugs they could get their hands on, because, the oracle speaks in pot and volcano farts.
Oh, wow. Okay. This has been an adventure. I don't know. This is bad fan fiction. Does that sum it up?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be so down on this guy if he made it 100% clear that this was fiction.
Right.
But
he's trying to present it as something it's not.
Yeah, just like all the other authors in the same genre. I mean, some of them aren't too bad writers. This one, maybe not the greatest, not the worst, but
Yeah.
if he would come
He
out
has
and say,
complete sentences.
yeah, some of them very long, but that's a different topic. But well, if he would come out and say, well, this is my fan fiction for my tabletop RPG, and do what you
Exactly.
want with it.
Yes.
Fine. No,
Yes.
no anger. But when you come, I have secret knowledge that only I know that I will share with you, and you have to trust me that all of this is true.
Right.
And even if he doesn't sell you something, he is still trying to get traffic and
and then
you to
yeah, I mean, I just, when I was looking through the sources and I went through all those like discussion threads on Quora and Reddit, like you had to go through a lot before you found somebody who would actually be like, this is not real. People were really believing this as actual mythology.
Okay, well, I'll say, if it wasn't for you, Cait, I wouldn't know any better.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that foundation of knowledge of here's what the actual myths are. I didn't have that enough history education to know that, to use the word the phrase ancient Italian, I was not educated enough to pick up that doesn't track.
Right.
Yeah.
So I am absolutely one of those people who could have fallen victim to this if I didn't have someone like you guys pointing out, but wait, here's the problem. I would just think that, okay, so this is just another myth.
And this isn't quite as problematic as, some of the things we've talked about today.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just, it is so easy for something like this to slip through because, again, just enough plausibility and,
And at the same time, we can't really expect everyone to have a deep understanding of ancient mythology and history. But that's why it's important to have people who vet this, because there will always be people who will try to slip one over on you, some for monetary gain, such as David Icke. I have no idea about this person. But he might earn money. He might do it for fun, aspiring author, but well, he's gone to the dark side when he tried to spin it as real history. But there's also something that people need to do, especially if you have the knowledge, maybe go out there and spread it among this community. You won't save everyone there, but you might get someone to say, hey, that's not correct. I get these stories from different listeners myself that some of them has found the right way through, someone saying, well, this is not really how it was. If you check these sources, you will get a better grip on the society history. Not more than that, not arguing, but just, hey, this is what I have, and then just back off, basically, because otherwise you will end up in a shouting match with a lunatic, and nobody wants that.
I prefer to do my shouting into the void on the podcast.
So after we sign off today, I'm going to get busy writing my own fan fiction about Fenrir, and I'm going to rewrite his whole story and declare that it is a lost manuscript. It
was dug up near Stockholm.
Fenrir is going to be like alive and well in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the United States.
There you go.
This is what I'm going with. Ancient Raleigh,
North
Carolina.
Papyrus.
Yes, and Fredrik showed it to you.
Yes.
But we can't share it. So yeah.
So I'm not drunk. Cait, I know you're not because you're just
I
on
have
coffee.
so much caffeine in my blood right now. But
Fredrik, how are you holding up now?
Yeah, I'm good. Just had one beer and a little bit of vodka. In Poland, we celebrate weddings with one vodka bottle per person usually. So,
Oh, fun.
my
I
people.
love that.
people.
first time I
So-
went to one of those, I just said, "There's a lot of vodka. Is that for the whole table?" No, that's per person. What?
We need invites to the next wedding.
Right? You're like,
I'll see if I can hook you up.
right? You're like, I know they're not related to you, but they just kind of, I can't get rid of them. But Fredrik, give us your social media and where people can find you and your podcast again and all of that good stuff. And we'll put it in the show notes too.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you want to read more, I would recommend to go to diggingupancientaliens.com. Or if you want to find me on social media and don't want to use a website because reasons, you can just put Digging Up Ancient Aliens in any media except for the Trump one. I don't think I'm allowed there. But yeah, or just go to your podcast player, type in Digging Up Ancient Aliens. There you will find it. But best is the website. There you also find show transcripts of all the episode I don't have guests on, with all the references and how to read more, where, things
and you
like
have
that.
merch now too.
I also have a few merch, and I don't know when this episode air, but I will do a presentation at QED at Manchester next Friday, the 28th.
Yeah, this is coming out on the 31st. This is our Halloween
so you have missed
episode,
it. You can catch the taped version instead.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. We'll look that up. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we'll put all of this in the show notes. And Fredrik is much better about getting back to people than we are. So
Yes.
Definitely reach out to him. And while you're out there liking and following Fredrik, you can get double the pleasure by liking us on Instagram at Drunk Mythology Gals.
Or on TikTok at Drunk Mythology Gals.
We're on Twitter at Drunk Myth Gals.
We're also on the web at drunkmythologygals.com.
And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/drunkmythologygals, where you get so much more.
Lots.
You get our deep dives, our lit crit hours, everything. Yep.
Or you can try dropping us an email, gal@drunkmythologygals.com. Fredrik can tell you firsthand how long it takes us to respond. It's our thing.
That's right. And special thanks to SFX Kim for putting the top spin on our sound. And thanks again to all of you for joining us. Please subscribe, leave a rating or review, and tell your friends and family about us, especially if they're like, I saw these documents. It's talking about the Anunnaki and vampires and the globalists. And you'll be like, no, that is not how it works. Finally, always remember, if the gods and fan fiction writers can behave badly, so can you.